saying, money come after. Yo, Sheldon Kane. Yeah. Yo, Jojo, Kulachini. I want to them. If they want to go to school. Yeah. Go get your education, me I beg you to revise where you learn from class, me I tell you no. Cause it's not hard, it's a task, just give yourself a chance and then she said that you grasp where them tell you no. Go get your education, me I beg you to revise where you learn from class, me I tell you no. Cause it's not hard, it's a task, just give yourself a chance and then she said that you grasp where them tell you no. Load the machine, I better you go dig the machine instead of you dip on the corner and I get your head machine. The little youths them nowadays, they need to learn, to look, to read and recognize for you survive education and the key youth. From George's, KC and JC, Valley Camper down, Meadowbrook and Papine, Calabar and Dunwoodin, till read the news about the pick up the two cause of the books so no fi read and so get your education, me I beg you to revise where you learn from class, me I tell you no, cause it's not hard, it's a task, just give yourself a chance and then she said that you grasp where them tell you no, go get your education, me I beg you to revise where you learn from class, me I tell you no, cause it's not hard, it's a task, just give yourself a chance and then she said that you grasp where them tell you no. Back in all the school days, me used to have it hard, but me also go to school anyway. Mama never get paid, but that never stopped me from getting education serious. So youth, pressure on the book. Take your mind out for the corner and have some notes to overlook. They want to see you turn a teacher or a doctor or a lawyer. Anything you really wanna just to turn in and a group. Girls, before you back it up, make sure you wrap it up. Before you be a mother, be a woman first. Stay in a school cause you are gonna need the knowledge. Graduate and go to college cause we have a career is a must. So get your education, me I beg you to revise where you learn from class, me I tell you no. Cause it's not hard, it's a task, just give yourself a chance and yes, he said that you grasp where they tell you no. Go get your education, me I beg you to revise where you learn from class, me I tell you no. Cause it's not hard, it's a task, just give yourself a chance and yes, he said that you grasp where they tell you no. Youth start go a class, me I tell you no. Exam no fi pass, me I tell you no. And bench one master this, me I fi tell you no. No farm full study hard, me I beg you no. Cause nowadays we get a job, me I tell you no. No easy and papers they want, me I tell you no. No buy the life when them sell on the corner. You get your education, cause the future we I tell you no. Queens, think before you drop your jeans. Send yours, refuse the abuse. A new school, you know. The grammar said use them to go to school. As I saw the thing said, education, unification, right in the mind. Hear this? Yeah. Go get your education, me I beg you to revise where you learn from class, me I tell you no. Cause it's not hard, it's a task, just give yourself a chance and yes, he said that you grasp where they tell you no. Go get your education, me I beg you to revise where you learn from class, me I tell you no. Cause it's not hard, it's a task, just give yourself a chance and yes, he said that you grasp where they tell you no. Back in my school days, me used to have it hard, but mama also go to school anyway. Mama never get paid, but that never stopped me from getting my education same way. So youth, pressure on the book. Gonna school, new school.
Okay, welcome to CDPLABS Eduservices YouTube page. It's been a while since we have been broadcasting, but we are back again because we see that there's a need out there, not only in Jamaica, but in the wider Caribbean. We saw that persons have done poorly in their maths exam, especially in their maths exam across the board. 36% pass, not good. There is a problem. Now, before we go any further, just want to ask you to share the link. I know that not much person is watching now. So for those persons who are now viewing, share the link with a friend, with a family, who you know who needs this assistance, especially those persons who might be doing the exam come January. Because we're reaching out to persons who really want to do the exam in January and need that kind of assistance. As you go through today's first session, I will say more about what CDPLABS Eduservices is doing these days. But the last time we did our streaming, when we had a lot of persons coming on, both in Jamaica and from the Caribbean, those who were there before know that they had a cat of one plus style. They did very well. There are persons who got grade 1 in their subject. That time we were streaming live HSB. And of course, persons did very well in that exam when we were going live Mondays and I think it was Wednesdays. But this time around, we're going to be going live for mathematics on Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Don't miss the time. If you have not yet subscribed, subscribe now because guess what? You will not be able to know or to be on time to start with us. So tonight we'll be looking at measurements, past paper questions, and how we can approach the questions. Now, as the song says in our introduction, you must pressure your book. You know, a lot of persons don't like to practice. And I'm just using this segment of the program now just to give you an ounce of advice how to do well at exams, especially in CXC mathematics. Now, guess what? Remember tonight we'll be looking at measurements. So if you know there's someone who has not yet joined the live, send the link to them. Share the link. Click on the like button. Good. So the program can keep building and so many persons can benefit from this opportunity. So, of course, yours truly, I am your host today, Ronique Bernard, a teacher of CDPLABS Eduservices. And of course, CDPLABS Eduservices is a member of the Jamaica Online School Association. Now, so the song said, pressure your book. Pressure your book. It means you need to practice. You've always heard it. Practice makes what? Perfect. Find a maths textbook. A lot of persons try to practice from past papers. This is not really wise. Let me tell you why. When you practice from the past paper questions, who's going to mark it and give you a feedback? That's the question. So the only time the past paper questions becomes a good tool to work with is if you have someone who can mark those answers for you and the solutions for you and give you back a feedback. But the textbook itself, it gives you an immediate feedback because guess what? It's at the back of the answer sheet's at the back of the book. Not the solution, but the answers. Now, how do you use the textbook to make it work for you? Simple. This is how you use the textbook to make it work for you. First of all, for those of you who are going to school or you're at school now, one of the best things to do is that if the teacher is looking at a specific topic, you go home, you find that topic in the textbook. There are exercises there, there are examples there. I will tell you the trick. Some years ago, I was helping a friend of mine who lives in New Jersey, and I was helping her from Jamaica, and she lived in New Jersey. And I discovered that persons who doesn't do well at mathematics don't know how to use a textbook. So guess what I did? I forced her to use the textbook. And that helped her. It helped her. I have had students who got grade 1 and 2 in mathematics. And just practicing from the textbook was sufficient to give them that grade. So I'm telling you, okay, let me tell you now. Let's say you're doing the exercise and measurement. You have never done measurement. You have never done it. But guess what? There are examples in the textbook. Now you have to spend time. You have to invest time in what you're doing. So you have to spend time to go through the example, analyze the example. So it's building on your higher order thinking skills because you have to make a judgment call and find the right example to help you with the questions in the exercise. Therefore, so if you are able to find use the examples to help you with the questions in the exercise, that's just step one. Step number two, if the exercise has 1 million questions, well, I'm just exaggerating. If it has 1 million questions, you must do all questions. If you stop and didn't do the last question, you have not practiced. That might sound a bit harsh, right? But it's reality. Because the last question that you failed to do in your practice session might be the very similar question in the exam that you did not get the experience with. Remember, practicing gives you experience, and experience always teaches what? Wisdom. So I'm just saying, that's a hint. Go practice. Tonight, though, I'm just showing you how to approach the exam questions. So now it's about 11 minutes past 9. Not seeing much persons on the live, but we're going to get straight into the business that we're here about today, right? So we're going to go straight into our business and see, um, so we can get started now, get you up and running, and let you start going through, the work that we have in front of us. So I'm just looking at a few possible questions to kickstart you off. I want to look at the questions, how you can go about doing it. So as I said before, if you know anybody who's doing the exams this year, don't be selfish. Share the link and let them know that CDP Labs is live again online and ready to roar again, ready to, give you what that necessary help that you really need. So we're going towards right now. Here we go. Here we go. All right, so we're looking at CSEC Maths preparing for January 2025 exam session number 1. So remember, we go live on Thursdays at 8 o'clock. All right, 8 o'clock Jamaican time. So if you're in the Caribbean, you need to know what time it is in Jamaica and compare it to your time where you are. All right, so here we go. So our first question that we're going to be looking at here is this measurement question here. Some of you might be familiar with it, some might not be, and some might be familiar with it, right? Remember, share the link with all your friends, family who's doing the exam this year. Just share the link with them, all right? Normally, we have a competitive situation. We have a competition, but until we see much persons, then we will, you know, we will commence the competition. All right, so I'm kind of going back to some slides. So here we are, this question right now. So we're at this question now, and just give me a second here, please. Just trying to maneuver my mouse. All right. Now, our first question, it says there's a diagram below, the diagram below, and of course it's below, shows a solid, or we know what a solid is. It's a three-dimensional object made from a semicircular cylindrical base. Now, pay close attention to the words used. Semicircular. So as we go along, we look at the semicircular, cylindrical base. This phrase, it is giving you a lot of information. Semi, which means half, circular is referring to a circle. So semicircular means that it's a half a circle. But where is it? It's the base. It is the what? Base. So it means then that the base of this solid is a semicircular cylinder. It has half a circle. Now, so they are saying to us that the solid is made from one, a semicircular cylindrical base, and two, a rectangular prism above it. So it is made up of two different type of shapes, a rectangular prism and a semicircular cylindrical base above it. Now the diameter of the cylindrical base and the width of the rectangle prism are 4 centimeters wide each. So that therefore tells you a lot of things. Now we must try to comprehend the information given in the question before we start to do any form of calculation. Now, when you're using past paper questions, one of the good things to do is to identify which topic these questions relate to. We have to look at the term, the keywords in the information given. So we looked at a few keywords earlier. We looked at semicircular, semi and circular, cylindrical, so it's a cylinder. And when you think about cylinder, then you must think about now the formulas that goes with a circle, are formulas that goes with a cylinder itself. So we talk about cylinder, we talk about two things. We talk about volume, we talk about surface area. Looking down on the question, you see total surface area, right? So we talk about surface area as well. Now we need to also understand now the formulas, especially for volume, is given on the exam paper. So there's no need to memorize or try to waste time memorizing such formula. Just go back in your exam paper, you write it off on the page that you're looking at the question on, so you don't have to skip. So you write it down. Now let me tell you something. Sometimes students tend to have um, there's a there's a problem, anxiety. One way to get rid of the anxiety while you're in an exam is to take is to count to 4 by when you inhale, you count to 4. When you exhale, you hold it for 4. And you keep doing it until you become relaxed. Anxiety can block the mind, block the memory, and therefore you become blanked out in the exam. So there's a lot of things happen while you're doing the exam. You're feeling pressured. Never you try to memorize. Always try to come from understanding. So we're analyzing this thing. We're analyzing this thing now. So we can see the cylinder right here. We can see the rectangular prism right there. What else can we see? The diameter. Now note that the line from here to here is the diameter. The same from here to here is also the diameter. Good. So it's both diameters. From here to here is the diameter. From here to here is the same diameter. Say if we were to take a cylinder, whichever way you turn it, the top and the bottom is going to be what? Equal. Remember, you can say something in the chat and I will respond to it. Any questions you have to ask in the chat, you can ask questions in the chat. As I told persons, promises to be interactive, repetitive. So whatever questions you have, you can put them in the chat and I will respond to you. All right. Now, so and first, get familiar with the information, get familiar with the diagram that is before you start any form of calculation. Everything is a strategy. It is strategic. You have to be strategic. All right. Now, so it says the diameter of the cylinder base and the width. Now, note the word and suggests that you are talking about more than one thing. So we're talking about the diameter of the cylindrical base. So let me ask a question. What is the shape of the cylindrical base? You can put the answer in the chat. All right. Participation is good enough. Not just coming to view, but you also come to participate. I pause again to tell you, share the link with a friend or a family who you knows who needs to learn mathematics or how to approach exam questions in mathematics while in the exam. That's what we're doing today, how to approach. Now, so the diameter of the cylindrical base. Now we'll talk about the cylindrical base. The shape of it is a what? Circle. Because the word diameter is related to the what? Circle. And we know that the diameter is that line that runs through at the center of the circle. It divides the circle into two equal halves. I'm not preaching, I'm teaching. No. So the word and. So we talk about one thing. But the next thing now, the width of the rectangle. The rectangular prism and is 4 centimeter. So the rectangular prism here is equal to the diameter what? Here. That's what they're saying. Now, so I hope you understand that. So let's look at it. It says calculate the total surface area of the solid. When we talk about total, notice the word total is in all caps. All the letters in the word are in capital. There's a reason for that. They are placing emphasis on the word for you to understand that when you see the word total, it means that you're going to add. You're going to find the sum of the surface area. Now, you need to understand what surface area means. Again, as I was saying to you before, you cannot just jump into calculations because you want to write food. You want to write what? You want to write the wrong things. So you have to you have to make sure that you have an understanding of the information presented to you before you start calculation. Now, surface area. Now note that we can determine the surface area of this part of the solid, the cylinder. It is actually half of the cylinder. Now, if you notice now that they gave you the formula, so easy this question is, they gave you the formula in square brackets, but they said that the surface area of a cylinder with radius r is a equal to 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Let's read it in English. 2 times pi times the square of r plus 2 times pi times the radius times the height. So what do we do next? All right, this is what we do next. This is what we're going to do next. So what we do next is simple this. You're going to now substitute, you're going to substitute the information that you already know in the equation given, or what you would probably call the formula. So we know that 2 is constant, so it remains. Now, they didn't tell you what to use pi as, did they? No. But let's use pi as, so we know the multiplication must come somewhere there. I'll use an asterisk, means to multiply. Then we're going to put pi as 3.14. I'm going to put pi, we'll multiply now by the square of r. Now, did they give us the radius? No, they didn't give us the radius. But we know something about the radius. What do we know about the radius? We know that the radius is half of the diameter of a circle. So but they gave us the diameter. So therefore, knowing the diameter, all we have to do is find half of the diameter to get the radius. So the diameter is 4, therefore the radius is 2. But we should square 2. And when you square the radius, you get back the same 4. So I've substituted half of the formula already. Let's continue. We'll put it on the plus side. See? Not bad enough. Easy so far, right? So now we're going to put 2 again, asterisk times pi, which is 3.14, we're going to be using. No, that pi is 3.142 or 22 divided by 7. But we know that 3.14 is the standard most times being used if you're writing it in decimals, right? Now, I'm going to multiply it by the radius now. And the radius is what? 2. And the height. Now, the height would be the length of the what? The rectangular prism, which is equal to the height of the cylinder. Because the cylinder is looking like it's lying down. But if you had it standing, I'm quite sure that this line would still be the height. So we know it's 12. So now you have substituted all the symbols in the form. So you can now go ahead and compute and get the surface area of the cylinder. But note, it's not a full cylinder. So make sure that when you find the answer for the cylinder, you divide it by 2. Make sense? So let's do a little calculation now. What you say? What could we now? We'll do the calculation. So if you have a calculator, you can back out the calculators and we could start to work together. It's all about working together, not working without you. So 2 times 3, 3.14 times 4. And that was 25.12. So we have 25.12 to start off with. So we'll add that now to what now? 2 times again 3.14. Well, let's kind of get rid of that. So 2 times 3.14 times 2 times 12. And that will give us what? 150.72. Now, when you add those two now, let's see what we get. You can go ahead and do it before me if you wish. So I'm rechecking the first part of it to make sure we're all on the same page. We're not making any mistake. Good. So we're going to add everything together now. So let's add them now. The 25.12 plus 150.72 will give us 175.84. And of course, that will be square centimeters, right? Now, is that the surface area of the semicircular cylinder? No. In order to find the surface area of the semicircular cylinder, we have to now divide that answer by 2. And our answer will be 100.48. But is that the answer now for the total surface area for the solid? The answer is no. The answer is no. So then, we now need to find out now the surface area for the rectangular prism. Note, I want to note something, that this portion, this flat portion now would not be counted in this total surface area. A lot of persons who have probably have done this question in the past would have probably made that mistake. You are talking about the surface that is visible to you, one that you can actually touch. Now, inside here, when the thing fused to it, you will not be able to see that because they are both shapes are fused together to give you one solid. All right. So evidently now you could not have, seen that part of it. All right. So let's continue. Let's continue on this one. So we only need to find the surface area of this part of the prism, this part, the outer part that you can see, this part. So basically, remember that a rectangular prism has 6 faces, but you can't find the base of it. So we're only going to find the faces of the what? The 5 faces that are remaining. Now, we can find the area of them. So please note that the width is 4, and from here to here is also 4. That makes it what kind of shape? A square. Makes it a square. The base is a square. So 4 times 4 is 16, but they are the same size, so multiply that 16 by what? 2. Let's put that in. So taking our time going through this thing. So face 1 is 4 times 4, which is 16, but we can multiply that 16 by 2 because it's two of the same face. So that's 32. Good. Now, this is opposite to the face on this side, so they must be the same size. Now, the length of it here is 4, 12 rather, times the height of it, if you want to call it the width of it, is 4. And that will give us 4 12s, 48. But we must multiply that now by 2 because it's the same thing. And we get 96. So we have covered 4 faces out of 6. So now we only have one left to calculate, which is the top. So 4 times 12 is 48. And that is 48. Now, so we have the area of each of the faces. So now we can add them up. So let's add them up. Let's add them up. So we have 32 plus 96 plus 48. And that gives us 176 in total. So everything here is 176 in total. All of these is equal to 176 square centimeter. But in order to get the answer to the question now, we have to know add this figure to the figure down here. And then you end up with 200 and, sorry, my bad. Let me erase that. So we end up with 276.48 square centimeters. And that's the answer for that question. So if you had something else, you should check that. All right. So that's that for that one. Now we're going to move on now to the other component of the question. So we just found the total surface area of that solid. Now, let us now move on to the other part of our question. So we're in the part B now, right? Sorry, part B is on this side right, of the screen, my bad. Not sure if you're able to see it. So it's part B of the question says calculate the volume of the solid. Calculate the volume of the solid. Now, just to pause here a bit, just reminding you once again to just, tell your friends and family about our live. For those, especially those persons who will be doing their maths exam next year in January. We go live on a Thursday at 8 p.m. All right. And of course, if persons want further teaching or to deepen your understanding, then of course you can register to CDP Labs Eduservices. You can go to our website. It is www.cdplabs.cdplabseduservices.com. Now, of course, you'll see when you appear on the website, you see Jamaica Online School Association because CDP Labs currently host Jamaica Online School Association. But you can go to our page and of course you can register as a student and we'll prepare you for your exam coming in January, right? Okay, so it says calculate the volume of the cylinder. No, sorry, of the solid. So we look at surface area. Now we're gonna be and the term surface area really mean, the surface, right? And the surface is made up of different shapes. So we did half of a cylinder, and now we did the prism, rectangular prism, which is made up of basically rectangles. So once you know to find the area of a circle, to find the area of the mid part of the cylinder right there, curve the surface of the cylinder, then you shouldn't have a problem finding the total surface area right there. Even though to find the area of rectangles, you should not have a problem finding the total surface area of rectangular prism. But it's that you need to you need to be thinking about what you're doing. So now we'll be looking at now to calculate the volume of the cylinder. Or sorry, the volume of the solid. Now remember now that the solid that they're referring to is made up of two shapes, semicircular cylindrical base, and of course the rectangular prism. Now how do we go about finding now the volume of the solid? Now first of all, the volume refers to the amount of space occupied by the solid. So if you notice now that the entire solid occupies a certain amount of space. It is very easy to find that. Think about it. Now, the base of the entire solid is made up of what? Two shapes. Remember, you can put your answer in the chat, and then, of course, I will respond to you. Good? See me in the chat? I'm saying hi. So you can respond to me. I will respond to you if you say something in the chat. All right, so I can know that you are there, live and direct. Now, so volume of the solid. Now, what do we mean by volume? Volume is really the area of the base times its perpendicular height. The base of this solid is made up of what two shapes? Think about it. Now, the two shapes will be what? Coming from the top here all the way down here. A rectangle and a half a circle. Simple. A rectangle and a half a circle. So you first have to find the area of the base. Then, simple. You find the area of the rectangle. Then you find the area of the half a circle. Then you add them. Good. So let's do that. Let's find the area of the base first. Now we know that this is a square. So this is 4 times 4. That one is 16. Now, we know that the radius of this, now remember, the area of a circle is what? Pi r squared. So the area of a circle is pi r squared, right? Pi r squared. So I will know what pi is. I will know what the radius is because we know what the diameter is. And half of the diameter is what? 2. So of course r squared is what? 4. So let's do it this way. So let's use 3.14 same way times 4. And that will give you the area of the circular part of the base. So let's find that now. Let us find that one. All right. So that's 3.14 times 4. And that's 12.56. So that this is 12.56. So all we need to do is add both of them. And add that to 16. And the area of the base then will be 28.56 square centimeters. So all of this now add together will give us what? 28.56. Now that is just the area of the base. So all we have to do now is multiply that area by the what? The height, which is 12. So multiply that by 12, and the answer then would be what? 204.56 cubic centimeters. So the volume for that is 204.56 cubic centimeters. Now, some person might be saying, but Mr. Bernard, I still not understand. Some person might be saying, Mr. Bernard, I still not understand. Now, let's establish a few things first. Mathematics is a necessary subject, especially in this time of our lives, because the jobs that will be available and in demand of workers is what we call the STEM jobs. Now, the STEM is an acronym which means science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Mathematics. Therefore, to get a STEM job, you have to have the knowledge, skill, and the competence in doing mathematics. Now, CDP Labs Eduservices is committed and always been dedicated to build our students to have that kind of skill. Now, we focus on developing the mental powers, the skill of the individual. And of course, we focus on developing our spiritual powers and physical powers too. And we talk about physical powers at another time. But that's more to do with your diet, how you treat your body, etc. Good. However, now, just remember this, that math is important. We can't do without it. So might as well try and get it out of the way. Good. No. So even if you go into nursing, you have to know more maths. Going to engineering, you have to know more maths. You're gonna be a medical person, you have to know more maths. So come to CDP Labs Eduservices for the training to prepare you to do well in mathematics. Now, for those who didn't understand how to approach this question, as I said before, you have to analyze the question. Don't just read through the top just like that. Try to make sense of the keywords used in the written information given. Try to relate the written information to the pictorial information given. Because it's still information, even though it's a diagram. Get the full understanding. If it means to reread it in your own words, do so. That means while you're trying to reread the statement in your own words, your brain now begins to process the information. That's the key, You're trying to process the thing properly, because that is why students fail the exam, because they're not processing the thing or they ought to process it. That's where they go wrong. So you have to learn to process the thing properly. Again, CDP Labs Eduservices will train you to process things properly. We can't do it all in the life, but we can do it during our regular program. No. So the first thing you have to do is break this down into your own words, relate it to the figure right here, and apply the knowledge that you have. Simple. What you have missed, you can go back to the start of the video, and then you can, of course, relate. So let's move on to our next question. All right, so we're going to move on to the next part of the question. All right. Now, so we're looking at part C now of the question itself. Part C of the question itself. Now, the solid is made of gold. The same solid we looked at just a while ago is made of gold. That is just telling the material used to make up the solid. Okay, Just like if you were drinking from a water bottle. It's a solid, but made of what? Plastic. Good? Now, 1 cubic centimeter. And we can rewrite that cubic centimeter as simple as 1 cubic centimeter. Now, when you see this symbol or this statement, they are speaking about which concept? Volume. Because again, it's about breaking down the statement. Practice that, breaking down the statement, because you must know that your teachers have taught you. You practice, But when you go into the exam, your comprehension is what is beating you. It'll beat you to a pulp. But how can we prevent that from happening? Break down the thing in portions that you can understand it. Rewrite it in your own words. Restate it in your own words. Reread it in your own words. Yep. Pause here again. This is very important information, students. Or my viewers or my subscribers, our new subscribers. Share the link with a friend. Don't be selfish now. Share the link with a friend. Click on the like button if what I'm making makes sense. Leave a comment in the chat. Okay, let's continue. So 1 cubic centimeter of gold has a mass of 19.3 grams. So that's 1 cubic centimeter of the cylinder has a mass of 19.3 grams, meaning that if you chip off a piece of the solid and you put it on the scale, if you chip off 1 cubic centimeter of it and you drop it on the scale, it'll go weigh 19.3 grams. That's what it's saying. Now, the cost of 1 gram of gold is $42.62. 1 gram. Can you imagine then 19.3 grams? Good. So what is it? No, this is a bit, this is like a ratio. We're going a ratio now. It's all the CSEC math set up. But you don't have to know the word ratio. Let's try use a common sense. Let's use a common sense. Let's use a common sense. They are saying to us that 1 cubic centimeter is equal to 19.3 grams. They are also saying to us that 1 gram, just 1 gram is equal to what? $42 and $42.62. 1 gram. So the question is then, if 1 cubic centimeter and 19.3 grams, how much then was 1 cubic centimeter? Value. Simple. Multiply the 19.3 grams by the cost of 1 gram. Common sense. Trust me, if you think about it, you realize that common sense. Tell yourself that common sense. It will become easier and it make more sense to you. Calculate the cost of the gold used to make the solid. Oh. So what I know? So I work with some information now. So I have to know now the mass of the entire solid. So if 1 cubic centimeter is 19.3 grams. Remember now with the workout the volume. Let's go back to the volume. If you work with me, you see the volume again. Open it and work with me, right? The volume was 204.56 cubic centimeters. So if one of it is that, then how much is 204.56? You must have to multiply that. So 204.56 cubic centimeter. So you have to find the mass now. The mass. So the mass will work out first. Then we can determine the cost of gold used to make the solid. So now we have to multiply this now by 19.3. Because if 1 is 19.3, then 2 will be twice that, then 3 will be thrice that, then 4 will be thrice that, then 5 will be 5 times that, then 204.56 must times that. Get it? All right. We know you get it, man. 19.3, and I said before, if you want your brain to be properly lubricated, register with CDPLABS Eduservices. Because we're only allowed to stream 1 day per week. That's not sufficient, is it? And we can't do all the things in live. So we invite you to register. And guess what? We have coupons given away now. We have coupons given away to reduce the cost to the student. So don't think that it's not expensive. CDPLABS is always, if not the most affordable school in Jamaica. Ask our past students. They will tell you. All right. So let's work that out. So multiply that now by 19.3. And what we get is 3,718.16 grams. So we still answer the question yet. But because we had to find out the total mass first. So having found the total mass, then we're going to multiply now the cost of 1 to that. So 3,718.16 grams times $42.62. Simple common sense. Because I'm sure now if you are sell at a supermarket or at the market, you know how to do this. Common sense. Times 42.62. Wow, I must tell you that this is a whole heap of things. The answer is $157, $157,945.23. That is the cost of all of that. Now, a lot of times students are afraid of big numbers. Don't be afraid of it. What is important is the solution. You know, God says that lean not unto your own understanding, but in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. How does that relate to this question? Lean not to your sight, because no one look big, but in all thy ways acknowledge the solution, and it will direct you to your answer. God is our solution to our problems. Yes. Had to put in that part for you, right? Let's go. Tell them you heard it on CDPLABS Eduservices, right? All right. So moving on to a second question. Now we're all allowed to do an hour of streaming. So if we're not finished with this segment of the program, come back again next week, Thursday, for us to complete the measurements. We're going through all the areas of the syllabus. Don't worry yourself. But remember, as I said to you before, if you want more, register with CDPLABS Eduservices. Right. And we'll put the link in the chat to the website. But if you want to know it now, www.cdplabseduservices.com. Let's go. So let's erase that and keep it moving. Now, for those who came late, easy for you to watch and go through. So you can always take a water break. Let's continue. Now the scale on a map, this measurement again, is 1 to 25,000. Now, which concept of mathematics that come from? Ratio. So it's saying that for every 1 centimeter on the map, and the real thing, it's 25,000 centimeters. That's what it's saying. It's comparing centimeter to centimeter. Now they are saying in part one, determine the actual distance in kilometer, represented by what? 0.5 centimeter on the map. Now 0.5 centimeter is what? Half. So if 1 is to 25,000, then what is a half? Half of 25,000. Duh. So that'll be how much then? So let's find half of 25,000 and see how much that comes to. 25,000 divided by 2 is 12,500. But as it's 12,500 centimeters, so they want the answer in what? Kilometers. So you must know how to convert from centimeters to kilometers. Good. So we're seeing now ratio in action and conversion in action. That's is it the dynamics of the CXC exam? That's the dynamics of the CXC exam. It's a dynamic thing. It really tests your ability to reason. And if it tests your ability to, most persons get a grade 4. If you look back at your preliminary slip at the profile dimension, you'll recognize if you get a grade 4, you have a low letter grade for the reasoning part of it. And CDPLABS Eduservices develop your reasoning. That's what we're about, developing your reasoning. But remember, don't just join the class. Make sure you pressure your book and practice. Remember what the song did say. All right, so half of this is 12,500, but that's centimeters. So we need to convert that now to kilometers. And remember now, they say 100 centimeters is what? 1 meter. So we can do a little root first on the way to kilometers. So I'll go to meters first. If 100 centimeters is 1 meter, what did they do to convert from centimeter to meter? They divide by 100. So we'll divide that by 100 first. I will get 125 meters. Then now, we're going to go to kilometers now. And them say, if you convert from meters to kilometers, 1,000 meters is what? Is 1,000 meters is 1 kilometer. So we divide that 125 by 1,000 to get the kilometer. Therefore, our answer is 0.125 kilometers and two decimal place in bracket 0.13 kilometers. Good. So, was that difficult? Doubt that, right? No. So that's how we approach that. Now, note, you have to be able to pick up the understanding of this thing. It's ratio. This a scale is a real life application of ratio. All right. Real life application of ratio. Now, if you calculate the actual area in in square kilometers, represented by 2.25 square centimeter on the map. All right. Remember now, the actual distance on the map is 0.13 meters. Now, please note now, we are using the same scale on the map. We're using the same scale on the map. 1 to 25,000 centimeters, that is. But if you notice, they are talking about the area now, which is 2.25 or 2.25 square centimeters. Now, if we are to use a ratio, then would it make sense to multiply this centimeter now, the centimeter here, by the ratio here? Because the question is, the question we're looking at here now, and this is a big question, is 1 centimeter to 25. Now, if what would 1 square centimeter be? That's what you need to find out. What would 1 square centimeter be? So if 1 square centimeter would be, you'd have to square now that 25,000. My God, it's a big fat number. But let's look at it. Let's look at it. There could be a shorter way. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. But let's try, see if we can work match it out then now. So we're square it up. So 25,000 times 25,000 will give us 625 million square on the map basically. Now we have to then now multiply that figure by 2.25. And then we're going to divide it now by 1,000 times 1,000. That's 1 million. All right. So multiply this figure, that big long figure, 625, with 6 zeros behind it. Multiply that by 2.25, and you'll get another big figure. We're divided now by 1,000 divided by 1,000. And that's what we'll get. Divided by 1,000. And divide again by another 1,000. And it brings it down to 1,406.25 square kilometers. That's your final answer. But this answer then would simply be 1,406.25 kilometer square. And remember, I tell you, don't look on the digits and think you're wrong. That's the size of the number that counts right here. Then sometimes it's not the size that counts, is how it is used, you know. So use the number, use a formula, not the size of the number. Use a methodology, the reasoning behind the thing. All right. So we have looked at that. Now, so we can move on from here. Again, you have to break down the question to your understanding. And you have to use knowledge. And you gain knowledge by continuously practicing, researching, and learning, right? It's not difficult to do well in the exam. Never you tell yourself that. Now, so we're at part B. Now we can pause here. We can pause here and return next week for another session in preparing for your exam, focusing on measurement. Now, of course, if you want to learn more and be better prepared for your maths exam in 2025 or even June 2025, you're welcome to register with CDPLABS Eduservices. We do have a free trial going on. And of course, when you do that free trial, you will get a coupon in exchange, and that will give you a discount. Don't miss it. Go now and apply. Go and apply with CDPLABS Eduservices. Note that we are now a member of the Jamaica Online School Association. That means there are other schools that partner with us to give you quality service, quality teaching for a quality performance in your exam. So if you know anyone that needs the help to perform well in the maths exam coming in 2025, contact CDP Labs Eduservices right now. All right. Now, so let's see if we can tackle this question and wrap it up. The diagram below, not drawn to scale, shows the cross section of two cylindrical jars. Again, we have to focus on the words being used. I cannot overemphasize that. We have to focus on the words being used. Cannot overemphasize that. Right? Now, the diagram below, see the diagram below there? But it's not drawn to scale. That simply means whatever figure you see there is not the real figure. But sometimes I tell my students that when you see it not drawn to scale, the secret is to draw it back to scale and you get the accurate answers. No doubt. Now, shows a cross section. Now, what is a cross section? I will give you a task. How about that? Make a cylinder out of paper and cut it in a half. You want to see that one half has a very flat surface, and that is called the cross section. It's a cross section of two cylindrical jars. So I have two of them, jar X, jar Y. So when I have to read that part again, because we see the two of them. But the key word is what? Cylindrical. So you have to look out for the keywords in the question. Cylindrical. We'll talk about cylindrical, which is an adjective coming from the noun what? Circle. But the word circle can probably be used as an adjective or a noun. But in this case, the word cylindrical there is referring to an adjective describing shape of the jar. Describing the shape of the jar. Now, the diameters of jar X and jar Y are as follows. 3D. So we look at it. This is the diameter, 3D. So don't because you see a straight line, you think it's not cylindrical. It is cylindrical. The information said so. So the diameters of jar X and jar Y are 3D centimeter and D centimeter respectively, as you can see. Now initially, jar Y is empty. No water in it, no liquid in it, no nothing. Empty, empty like the day. It's like an empty jar. And jar X contains water to a height of what? 4 centimeters. So when you're looking at the bottle, the water level is from the base to where the water surface is 4 centimeters deep or high. Now, how are we going to use that information? They are saying determine in terms of. Now, when the person see in terms of, they don't stop to ask us what that means. That simply means that the answer must include pi, the symbol pi, and the symbol d. That's what it's saying. The answer must include the symbol pi and the symbol D, the volume of water in jar X. So you must determine the volume of water using the symbol pi and D. Let's see run through that one. Run through it. Ready? So we are gonna run through that one day now. One to the one day now. Ready? Let's run through it. So in terms of pi and D, the volume of water in jar X. Now note, it's a cylinder. So a cylinder says what? Pi r square. So always remember that to find the volume of a cylinder is pi r square times its perpendicular height. This gives you the volume of a cylinder. Now pi must be in our answer. So we're not going to trouble it. So leave pi in the answer. Now D, how D going to come into the equation? You might ask. Yeah, you might ask that. How the D going to come into the equation? But this is how D going to come in the equation. Note that we need to get R squared. But how we get R squared again? You know what R is first. But the diameter of the cylinder is 3D. So therefore, half of the diameter will give us the what? Radius. So R is equal to 3D divided by what? 2. Now you can write 1.5D if you wish. That is your choice. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this. R squared, and I'm going to just put this in bracket. And square it. But I can go further than that. 3 times 3 is what? 9. And 2 times 4. 2 times 2 is what? 4. And we have D squared. So you can keep it at that if you want to. So this multiply by 9 D squared divided by what? 4. And our height of the water is 4 centimeters. Now, guess what? We can simplify it some more. I don't think so. Because 4 can go into itself one time. So we'll get rid of the 4. So therefore, the final answer then would be what? Pi 9 D squared. So we have pi and we have D. That's the volume. Come to CDP Labs Eduservices and we're ready for you. We're ready for you. And CDP Labs Eduservices will teach adults mathematics and of course the sciences. And the other schools in JOSA, Jamaica Online School Association, they specialize in English language, they specialize in business studies, right? And we specialize in science and mathematics. Good. We have students at different grade level can come to any of the schools and get that specialized training. All right. Now, so we train our students to think and perform well in exams. That's why we call ourselves examination preparation agents. That's what we do. All right, let's continue. And I can tell you that quite a few persons can attest to that. All right. So we'll leave the volume there because we have a reason. If I were you, I'd write that volume down somewhere in your notebook because we're going to need to use it. So pi 9D squared. So we have answered part 1 of the question. Of course, you can always go back to the video if you didn't get it. the first time. All right. So pi 9 d squared. Pi 9 d squared. Let's move on. All right. So pi 9 d squared. Okay, so at this point, we're going to um, stop our session because we only have about, let's say, that to that. So when we resume, we will have a few questions to complete on the measurements, first measurement leg. And as I said before, if you want more, then you can register with CDPLABS Eduservices. So next week, Thursday, God's willing, our lives are spared. We're going to complete the remaining questions on this presentation. All right? So, but of course, you can come and register, apply. Application is free now. We don't charge to apply. So apply that one of our representatives can in fact communicate with you and give you the directions how to get into the program so you can start preparing for your exams, whether in January or in June 2025. So I see that just a few persons joining now, a few persons joining. So maybe I'm encouraged to continue. All right. I'm encouraged to continue. But I just want to say something more to you as before we get into the remaining part of the question then, because I guess if you share the link and you click on the like button, I will continue. So if you want me to continue, press the like button, leave a comment in the chat, and share the link. Subscribe if you have not yet subscribed, because that is how you're going to know when I return live again next week. God's willing, all our lives are spared. But remember, I told you that mathematics is simple like this. There's a passage of scripture, proverb that states, lean not unto your own understanding, but in all thy ways acknowledge God, and he will direct your path. How is that similar to mathematics? Lean not to your sight, to the big answers, but in all thy ways acknowledge the solution or the knowledge, and it will direct you to your answers. It is a solution that is key. What you might call working out. That is the key. Look at the solutions. Look at the step-by-step calculations. Acknowledge that. And that will direct you to your answers. God is a solution to our problems. Yes, he is. God is a solution to our problems. Reading the scriptures is a way of hearing God's word and hearing God's voice and hearing from God. That's true. All right. Now, we might have a little bit more time. See how much more questions we can cover. Now, it says here that the diagram alone not drawn to scale. As I said before, I normally tell my students to draw the thing to scale. Shows a cross section of a circular metal disc. That is circular. Keyword again. Of radius 21 millimeters. Now the radius runs from the center of the circle to the circumference of the circle. Now there's a square hole. Think about drawing a disc, cutting out a square in the middle of it. That will give you the hole. Which size 6 millimeter is located at the center of the disc. Now they wanted to find the circumference of the disc. Now, with practice, remember again, as I told you, you don't have to memorize these things. You go back to the exam paper and look for the how. What's the formula given to find circumference? And all you do is apply it. But I'll give it to you right here. So the circumference of a circle, this can be one of two things. 2 pi r. And you know what? Let me not write it like that. Let me just write it with my pen. 2 pi r. Now, 2 pi r really means 2 times pi times r. Now, they told you at the top this time now what to use pi as 22 sevenths. Some of you said 22 divided by 7, right? No. So, you know what? That's one formula or one way to find the circumference. So, the big C, or that can equal to the big C, or big C equal, whichever way you want to write it. Now, another way to find this, the circumference is pi times the diameter is still equal to the circumference. Now, you can determine which of the two to use by looking at what is given in the information. The radius. So we can use the one with the radius and the pi. So we can use this one instead of this one. Because if you use this one, you have to multiply this radius by 2 to get the diameter, which is not necessary. Could be necessary, but it's not necessary. Understand? Yeah. So let's do this way. So 2 times pi, and that's why we must use pi as 22 over 7. And the radius is what? 21. Simple multiplication of fractions. Yeah, man. So let's continue. So 7 itself go 1 time, and 7 to 21 goes 3 times. So we can just multiply across or find the circumference. 44 times 3 is what we're looking for now. So 2 times 22 times 3 give us 132. The circumference is 132, and the unit is centimeters. No, millimeters, sorry. And that's it. Not difficult, is it? Not difficult at all. Now, we wanted to run the competition, but we don't see much persons putting anything in the chat. We want to run the competition. Competition is we want to put something in the chat that we can know that you are there, and we can send a link for the competition right there to run the competition. And you might end up with a prize or two, of course. CDPLABS normally give away phone cards to phone credit to our competitors who have performed well. So, and we don't only not only our students in the Zoom space that participate, but our students also in our YouTube live also gets the opportunity to participate and win something. All right. So let us now continue. So we got the circumference already. Let's see what the next part of the question comes with. We have 5 minutes left, and then we really have to cut it off from here, and you can come back next week. Now, the final part of the question is at the top. It says the area of the thing now in meter square of the cross section of the disc, the area of it. Now, just to get back the information, the radius is 21 millimeters square. And remember now that when we talk about area of a circle, it is actually pi r square. But bear in mind that there's a disk in the middle of it. So we're talking about the surface area. So if you take out that disk, would it also of the cross section of the disk itself? The disk itself. So you have to remove. You have to now remove that piece of it. So let's look at the piece of it now, right? Let's go back. So the area of this, the square, it's a square. So that will be 36. So that you have to remember you have to subtract that 36 from the actual area of it. So to find it, now we can stay on this page. So no, you must find the area. So we can see the information still, right? So we know that the area of the thing inside already is 36 millimeters square. We know that. But in order to find, what we want to find is the area of this disk itself without the square hole. Now, we have to find the area of the entire thing first. And of course, it's pi r squared. So 22 over 7, which is pi, times the square of 21 times 21. Then we can say boom bang, and that's 3 right there. So multiply everything now. So 22 times 3 times 21 is therefore 1,386. But remember now, they did not give you that whole without a reason. So we have to minus now that 36 to get the disk itself. That's 0, 5, 1, 3 millimeters square. Now, if you want a syllabus coverage, then of course the best thing to do is to register now with CDPLABS Eduservices to get the syllabus coverage. If you think that we have the dynamics to prepare for the exam, as we have done for other students in the past, then what are you waiting on? Go and apply. It doesn't cost to apply. And there's a free trial going on. And that free trial, you get a certificate. That certificate will help you to get a coupon to reduce the cost, the tuition cost for the program itself. CDP Labs Eduservices has been around since 2009, and we have been around. We have been rebuilding, redesigning, restructuring to ensure that we maintain our high standard of getting quality passes from our students who follow instructions and do their assignments because they have a goal to achieve. So before you come to CDP Lazarus Services, you must have a goal. You must keep your eye on that goal in order to achieve it. So good night from me now. Wish you all the very best. Just once again want to remind you that the Word of God is the Bible. Reading the Bible is a way of listening to God's Word, hearing from Him. And He says, acknowledge Him and He will direct your path. Have yourself a blessed night. Stay tuned to CDP Labs Eduservices. Come next week, God's will, all lives are spared. You'll get the remaining portion of this presentation. And then, guess what? We'll move into another unit of practice exam questions. But if you want more, you want development, you want deep mere understanding, register with CDP Labs Eduservices. You don't want to pass the exam. You don't want to get a grade 1 or a grade 2. Come, apply now. Come pass the exam. It's good night. It's good night from CDP Labs Eduservices now. Now.